it's Monica from Life as Art and Scrap. It's almost Monday. Let's create. I'm just trying to get my video all ready and going here on the side and seeing how we're looking. And I can see that I've got something affecting my video here. Let's see if I can fix that. And I think that's better. Let's move this down a smidge and see if we can't get ourselves focused in on here. It's going to take a second to catch up. All right, it's getting there. Getting there. If you're joining me live, just say hello or howdy so I know you're here. And if you're watching later on replay, you can say replay. Got a frog in my throat. Hey Heather, nice to see you're watching. And Joanne is here too. Good evening. Now, just as a little preliminary, for those of you who were at the crop today in Brampton, you have seen this layout already because it was our make and take. But I thought I would share it with everybody, and so if you weren't there today, now's your chance to see what we were doing. And so we're going to be using some stuff from the core catalog, or the new essentials catalog. And this is the catalog that's around all year long, has got lots of fun things, stencils and papers and whatnot. And one of the specialty papers in the catalog are the Irresistibles. And so we're going to be using some Irresistibles this evening. These are sort of white daisy cardstock that have UV coatings in various patterns. There's sprinkles, flowers, plaid, leaves, stripes, and hearts. If you're looking on the website, you'll see two different kinds of Irresistibles. You'll see Irresistibles that are retired and Irresistibles. So this particular set is the Irresistibles. The one from last year is the one that says retired. Now, you can still get them, but they're retired. So once they're gone, they're gone. So, but these ones are available. We're also going to be using, I shouldn't have taken this away so fast. We're also going to be using the Operation Smile stamp set for this layout. And that is a lovely stamp set. It's got some gorgeous sentiments, some nice icons on there. But the wonderful thing about the Operation Smile, Your Smile stamp set is that every time one of these stamp sets is purchased, Close to My Heart donates $7 US to Operation Smile, which provides life-changing surgeries for children who are born with cleft lip and palate. And that is a super good charity to support, so we're very happy to do that with Close to My Heart. And so we're going to be starting off with our Irresistibles. And to get working on those, we're going to put down our all-purpose mat, just because we're going to get a little inky. So Irresistibles have a UV coating on them in different patterns. I've got some plaid, some stripes, and some daisies here. So I don't know if these will catch in the light, but this has a daisy pattern on it. This one has some horizontal stripes. And then this last one has a diagonal plaid. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring in some inks to color these up. So I'm going to start with the daisies. This piece has been cut to 1 3/4 inch by 11 3/4 inch. I'm going to bring in my Sundance ink and something to hold my ink down, and a blending brush. And we're going to go ahead and start inking this piece of Irresistibles cardstock. And this is very similar, as I was telling the ladies today. Do you remember back in the day in kindergarten class when you used to take a white crayon and you would draw a picture on a piece of paper, and then you would, get the pot of tempera paint that was always watery and kind of gloopy and watery at the same time, and you would paint over top of your crayon drawn picture, and then you would notice that the paint didn't stick to where the wax was from the crayon. And so that's the same kind of principle that's happening here, but a little grown up. That's the way I like to look at it. It's like the crayons, but grown up. So the UV coating resists the ink, and so there will be a little bit of ink sitting on that UV coating, and you just take a tissue or a cloth or something, and you give it a little buff, kind of like the Karate Kid. You're going to wax on with the ink and wax off with your soft tissue, and it will reveal that white area where the UV coating was. And I like to kind of do it in stages so that the ink isn't sitting there too long. One thing you will find from working with Irresistibles too, that the darker the color that you use, the more heavily pigmented inks will eventually stain the UV coating. So if you use black, for instance, you will notice a purpley tinge to the UV coated spot, which can be a cool effect. I did some like that, and it really had a cosmic look, which was kind of fun. And if you use, a dark red or dark blue, you're going to end up with pinkish lines and light bluish lines, which could be a look. But today I'm using colors that don't have that effect. They're a little bit milder, and so you get that nice pop and shine from the parts that are covered with the UV coating. This is similar to what you can do if you do some heat embossing onto your cardstock and then ink over top of it. You can create a similar thing, but this has already been done for you. So there we go. There is our daisies now, all done with the Sundance. And if you keep going over this, you're going to get more ink. You'll get a more solid cover. I kind of like the little bit of mottled look that you get. Of course, we're going to have some ink on our Versamat there, so I'm just going to give it a swipe. Now I'm going to switch, and I'm going to go to my stripe next. And for my stripey one, I'm going to use some Limeade ink. Nice green. Actually, no, not for my stripey. I'm going to use some Capri ink for my stripe. And so again, blending brush, and we're going to go through the same process, adding our ink. With the blending brushes, you can really control how much or how little ink that you put on. I'm going to try and get a good thick coating on there. I want some nice rich color happening, nice and vibrant. We need some vibrant, colorful stuff, at least where we live here in Canada. We've got lots of dreary and snow, and everything looks kind of gray and dull. Although, we have had a few days where the birds have just been tweeting out there like crazy. I think they think that spring is on the way. And we did have some very spring-like days. So you're just going to buff all over this. And it's not going to take the ink off the paper. It's just going to take the little bit of ink that's sitting on top of those UV stripes. And then we're going to do some more. And you see how I'm holding my paper, kind of trying to keep my fingers out of the ink because, I get a little bit on there. If you put your fingers where you've freshly inked on the UV coating, you're going to end up with blue fingers. It's just how it's going to be. So I'm trying to avoid getting too inky, but sometimes it happens. The other thing you can do is you can use the cloth to hold your paper or the tissue and just get some good ink on there. You can add ink to these even with a water brush and some ink if you want a more subtle watercolor effect. You can add shimmer brush to your Irresistibles if you want a nice sparkly effect. So there we've got our Capri stripes. I'm going to give that a swish off. There's lots of blue on there. I'll give a proper wash later. And then for this last one that has the plaid, this is the one we're going to use the Limeade on. So I've got my Limeade ink here, which is a nice fresh green color. And we're just going to ink that up and make some lovely green. All the way along. How's everybody doing tonight? Are you having a good Family Day weekend? Here in Canada, we have, or in Ontario anyway, we have Family Day on Monday, so a lot of people have a long weekend. Heather says, it's like we were there. Yes, Mom. Mom was mentioning there is a flash sale going on. It started on Friday or Saturday, and it goes until Monday night. President's Day flash sale, and the retired Irresistibles were part of the sale. So if they're still available, they're on sale. Different patterns than what I'm using currently, but lovely patterns in their own regard. So we're just adding lots of color on there. Now I'm gonna go ahead and use my tissue to buff over that UV coating. Because I'm using a long strip, it tends to want to buckle up like that. But it is cardstock weight, just like our other cardstocks. Just has that extra fun of the UV coating. I'm going to use my tissue to help me hold here. And I'm being a bit aggressive with my blending brush. One thing I like about the blending brush is you can go really light like this and get a really, really soft color, so it's just barely there. But with the UV coating, I kind of want to get it on there nice and thick so that we can see that pattern pop off of it. The fun thing about this is, say you're making a layout and you want to add a plaid, but you don't have a plaid in the color that you would like to add, you can just pick which ink color you like and create your own. You don't have to have the right paper to begin with. You can create it. So there we go. We've added our Limeade. I'm going to finish rubbing off that last little bit. I'm probably going to have very inky hands by the time I'm done. But it's a super fun technique. Okay, now we can move our all-purpose mat out of the way and continue on with our layout. Now, this layout that I'm going to do today is not entirely my own creation. I had it, it's one I've been looking at for a while on Pinterest, of course. We love our Pinterest, don't we? And let me just grab the person who pinned it on there, who posted it. It was My Creative Scrapbook, Tracy McLennan. So I will note that when I post the description in the video. And so let's bring in our base page. We're going to be starting with a piece of 12 by 12 white daisy cardstock. I'm going to add some adhesive to the back so we can keep it in place while we create. Just like that. Flip it over and stick it down. Now this is one where it's good to stick it down because we are going to be doing a lot of sort of measury and lining up-y type things. Hey Rhonda, nice to see you're watching. So I have a few pieces of cardstock as well. I have some Bluebird cardstock. Let me just make sure I've got that. Yes, I want the dark color side. I've got some candy apple cardstock. And I have some pumpkin cardstock. And I'm going to be using the dark side of these two. the Bluebird and the candy apple, and I'm going to be using the light side of the pumpkin. So what I want to do is I want to kind of spread these out on my layout like that. And then I'm going to intermingle my patterns. So I've got my daisies, I've got my plaid, I've got my stripes. And isn't that a really fun, colorful background? Now you will notice because I cut these at 1 3/4 by 11 3/4, I've got a nice little gap going all the way around. And we're going to use that gap to our advantage here. What we're going to do is we're going to create some dovetails or chevrons on our pieces of paper. So what I did for this was I took a piece of white daisy cardstock and made myself a template, because if I just picked up this piece and tried to cut a chevron into it, I would get off center, I would get out of kilter, and it would just not look exactly what I wanted. So I made myself a template where I measured exactly in the center. I cut myself a nice shallow little dovetail chevron here. And now I'm going to use that as my template. Just going to check I got some adhesive on one of those today at the crop. So what we're going to do is this first one, we're going to take our template and put it on so that our first little chevron here is the point of it. If I put this down at the bottom so there's no gap down here, the outside point of this is at 4 inches or maybe 4 1/4. Okay, and then we're going to lift this up, and I kind of like to put my hand on either side so I know that my template isn't wiggle woggling. And then I'm just going to cut my chevron to match my template, just like that. Okay, now if I take this piece of paper and I push it all the way to the top, like so, leaving just a little bit less than a 1/4 inch gap at the left side, and if I take this piece and I put it all the way at the bottom like that, then we're going to automatically get a 1/4 inch gap here in between these two pieces of paper. So we're going to do some more here. And this next one, we're going to, instead of having our dovetail pointing down or our chevron pointing up, as you would say, we're going to flip it and make it the opposite direction for this next one. And this next one, we're going to go right down near the bottom. We're going to put it at about 1 inch, 1 1/4 from the bottom. Okay, so this one we got to kind of hold tight because there's not a lot of the paper behind it. And we're going to snip and snip and create ourselves our little chevron. And then that's going to line up like that. And so we're alternating between cardstock and pattern, Irresistibles, and we're also going to alternate chevrons. So this was tails down, tails up. We're going to go to tails down, and this one we'll put at just a little bit above there, maybe 1.5 inches, like that, and snip. So it's a good idea to create that template ahead of time so you can make sure you're in the center. If I tried to freehand that, I would never get it right. I know me, and that wouldn't happen. There we go. And then our next one, we were this way, so now we're going to flip and we're going to have our tails pointing up. And this one we'll do at about 3 3/4 maybe. Right there. I'm using my edge of my Versamat to help me with I'll go up a little bit. It'll help me with the measuring. That's what we love about our Versamat, right? Great stamping surface on the back, nice surface to work on, self-healing mat, and also those lovely measurements that keep us all aligned. And there we go. And then this next one, we're going to go way down to the bottom. And we're going to do about 1/2 inch. We're going to flip, because again, we're going to have it going this way. And we're going to come about 1/2 inch up from the bottom. So we're varying where our little chevrons are happening, which creates a really interesting pattern. And this is the part that I got from the layout on Pinterest, was this fun background. And these up and down chevrons, I thought it was just so cool. And I had to give it a try. And then our last one, we're going to flip. So our tails are going up. And we're going to put it at about 8.5 inches. So we're coming up the side there, like that. And again, a nice little snip. And another snip. There we go. All right. So this one's up nice and high because it's over on the side, and it'll make sense when we get our photo mat on there. There we go. So we can set our template aside. And then, of course, we can go and tape these on. Stick them on our layout. And we're kind of going to have to just create our own spacing. It's not quite a 1/4 inch gap in between. It's just a tiny bit less than a 1/4 inch gap. We want to try and keep them straight as much as possible. And we'll just stick them all on there. Are you loving these colors and those fun patterns? I'm just trying to see the comments here, but I think I can cut off, so I won't see any more than what's already there. I'll just line that up. Maybe I'll check on my other video. I've got 2 videos going on the side in the hopes of seeing what's happening. Okay. Let's keep sticking these down like that. And then we're going, once we've got these down, we're going to head on to our stamping process. We're going to be stamping up a few things. There we go. Line that up. Hopefully straight-ish. And then come down to our bottom. There we go. Stick this on. I love this combination. I think it looks so fresh, so bright, nice and playful, which will go well with my photo. The ladies who were creating this today at the crop thought it was lots of fun. Oops. And line my red up, my candy apple. And the bottom part. There we go. All right. Have you tried using the Irresistibles before? Let me know in the comments if you have given the Irresistibles a go or not. We had them last year. We even had some alphabet stickers that were irresistible, which were super fun. So have you tried them? And our blue Capri stripes. There we go. And the bottom part. This is always the process where we're just kind of gluing the things down. It takes us a minute, but it's all part of the process, right? There we go. And then I think I'm going to jump over and do the outside edge. This Limeade green plaid. Rhonda says she has not tried them yet. Ooh, something to try. Always fun to have something new to try. There we go. I kind of had a crash course in using the Irresistibles. I was asked to teach a class at the Close to My Heart Makers Convention last year, and the product that I was given to demonstrate was the Irresistibles. So I had to think of all sorts of fun ways to use them. It was an interesting process. There we go. And then our pumpkin, and again I'm using the light side of the pumpkin because I thought that the light side kind of settled in better with these colors. So this is the dark and this is the light, and it's just a little bit lighter, and I think it kind of set amongst these nice bright colors a little better than the dark side. There we go. And then our last little piece going on at the bottom. Just like that. A little 1/2 inch one down there. Okay. Now next we want to do some stamping. So I have a bunch of things here. I've got some little pieces, some big pieces. I'm going to bring in a second Versamat here so that I can do my stamping without bothering my layout below. So I flipped over this Versamat, and we're going to start with some candy apple. And from our Operation Smile stamp set, we're going to use the Your Smile, Warms My Heart, Brightens My World, and Makes Me Happy. So with this little piece that I have cut, we're going to stamp Warms My Heart with some candy apple. Set that down, pick it up with my stamp. Now this particular piece, I think, I'll have to check the measurement when I flip over to the other side. We're just going to stamp that a little bit to the right side of it, like that. So there's our Warms My Heart. And then this piece, we're going to stamp Brightens My World. And we're going to use pumpkin for this. We're kind of repeating those colors that we saw in our paper and our patterned Irresistibles. So Brightens My World in pumpkin. There we go. And then the last one is going to be the Makes Me Happy. And those are two separate stamps. So we're going to grab the Happy and the Makes Me. So Happy. And then we're going to, this is always the easiest for me, is to pick up the words and then use them. And then for this, we want our Limeade. That's the color we want. I got a piece of hair tickling my nose. Don't you love that when you get the little flyaway hair and it just is tickle, 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 and makes me happy. There we go. And I will get those measurements when we flip around to the other side. But then I want to do some more stamping. I've got a piece of white daisy here, and I'm going to use my stamping platform for this. I'm going to stick this in here. Which side do I want? This one's got a little bit of ink on it, but that's going to be okay. And we're going to use the Big Word Smile. The Big Word Smile. I'm going to walk that off the carrier sheet. And lay that down here like that. Pick it up. Like so. Readjust our paper. So we make sure it's right in the corner. And I'm going to use Bluebird ink for this. And I'm using the platform because this is a nice, thick, bold stamp. Actually, I'm going to turn it around. Nice, thick, bold stamp. And we may have to ink it more than once. In fact, I know we'll have to ink it more than once. So in order to do that, the stamp platform makes that process a lot easier. So we'll go ahead and stamp that down. Make sure we're back in the corner again. Hopefully it didn't move before I did that. Ink it up some more. Stamp it again. That's actually looking pretty good. I'm going to leave it there. Put this aside. And then we're going to stamp a few more things on this particular piece of paper because we're going to do some fussy cutting. So let me grab first the little bird from the stamp set. We're going to stamp it in some Capri. So there we've got our little Capri birdie. Right there. And then we are going to get the butterfly. And we're going to stamp that in the Limeade. A nice little green butterfly. Why not? Stamp that there. And then last but not least, we're going to take the little double hearts and our candy apple. And you're going to see how these colors all tie together when we get them on the layout. Here's our candy apple heart right there. And actually I have one more thing to stamp, and that is the word your. And I'm going to do that in the Bluebird as well. There we go. Last but not least. Okay, so now we've got all those stamped. We can do a little bit of fussy cutting. You know how much I love my fussy cutting. Move that out of the way. Grab my non-stick micro tip scissors. This one's easy. We're just going to cut a little rectangle around the your. And then for smile, I'm going to do a rough cut like that. And then I always pick a nice spot to start. We're going to pivot our paper as we fussy cut. I got a bit of practice doing this today because a few people preferred not to fussy cut. And so I helped them out when they were making their layouts. They did the stamping and the inking and everything. And I help them out with a little bit of fussy cutting because it's one of my favorite things, and so I don't mind doing it at all. So we're just going to go ahead and fussy cut, pivoting our paper, leaving a nice halo of the white. This is our title, so we can even leave extra white if we want. And just smoothly go around. We don't have to get every single nook and cranny, but we'll get a good majority of them. Like that. Around. The real thing with this is not whether, you get every detail. It's to try and get it a bit smooth. I think it's the smoothness that helps. And so that pivoting action is what helps you with that. And just kind of gliding our way around. Fussy cutting is one of those things that just comes with practice, I think. Patience and practice. Now, this particular stamp set does not have an option for thin cuts, but there are lots of stamp sets that do. So for those who don't like fussy cutting, there's quite often an option. And then let's get these guys. Gonna rough cut first. Makes it easier to fussy cut if you've rough cut first. And then we're gonna go around. These guys are nice and quick. Just nice, easy curves. When my son was first learning to sew with the sewing machine, I used to take pieces of paper and draw swirls and spirals and zigzags and all sorts of things. And then he would use the sewing machine with just the needle, no thread, and make like perforations around the page just to learn how to move the item that he was stitching through the machine and when to slow down, when to speed up. And so I think that's a bit like fussy cutting. Sometimes you just need to stamp a bunch of stuff and practice. And the ones that don't work out, you just toss them aside, stamp it again. It's only paper and ink. And we go around the antenna of our butterfly and around these. And so for these images, because we stamp them in color, we're not even going to worry about coloring them in. We're just going to leave them as is. So the amount of time that we take to fussy cut is probably less than the amount of time it would take us to color. So, you know, it's a little give and take on our crafting time. And I think it's kind of nice just to have the colored outline. We've got a lot of lovely color happening in our background. So our stamped images can be a little more austere, I guess might be the word, where it's just a nice image, little bit of color, but the little bit of white also kind of makes your eye come to them because it's contrasted from all the stuff going on in the background. So we're going to set those aside. We're going to bring in our photo mat. And for this layout, I'm using a 6.5 by 4.5. And I'm using this photo of my son Joshua. We were camping one time and he was playing at the playground. My husband took this cute little photo of him and I thought it would work out nicely for this layout. Now I did use a different photo this afternoon for my for the make and take as my example, and so that's kind of cool. Even though I'm going to end up with two basically identical layouts, I don't mind because this layout's going to have a photo of just one of my boys. The other one has a photo of both of them, and so I can put one of these layouts in one boy's album and one layout in the other boy's album. And that will work out just lovely. Or I could keep one for my album. Right? There's always options of what to do when you have multiple layouts. Now I'm going to center this pretty much in the middle from side to side, but I'm going to be careful that I am above this chevron here, just so that it still is visible and stands out. I'm not going too much above it, just a smidgen, and put that on there like that. I figure if you're going to go to all the effort to create the chevrons, then we might as well have them visible in the layout, right? Right? That's what I'm figuring. And then we're going to add our title, our smile, your smile. And I've got a little bit of adhesive there, but I'm also going to use a little bit of liquid glue just to get in the little nooks and crannies here. Make sure everything sticks down like that. And we're going to stick that right there. the edge of the photo this time. The layout that I did earlier, I left some space, and that works too, but this time I want to have it right on the edge. Gonna add my your. Add my your. Doesn't that sound odd? I'm just gonna tuck that right in there in that little nook. So we've got your smile, and then we've got brightens my world, and we stamped this in the orange, and there was a method to my madness. I wanted it to be in the pumpkin color because it's going to go on top of the pumpkin part over here. I'm going to actually tuck it in underneath the edge of my photo, line it up there so it's touching the orange, and then we're going to add our little bluebird. Orange and blue go nicely together. You could use foam tape for this, but I'm keeping it all flat. And we're just going to add our little bluebird there on the edge. And then we're going to add the warms my heart down here. And you'll notice it is stamped in red. And so we're going to stick this right down here, touching that red cardstock, adding our little heart, and I stamped that a little bit to the right of my piece of paper. And once again, I forgot to tell you what sizes those were. Gonna attach my little heart here, overlapping on top of that. Let me grab my ruler here. So this was 2¼ inches by almost ½ inch, a smidge less than ½ inch. This one was 2 inches by 1 inch, and the last one here is 2¼ by 1¼ Get those measurements in there. And this last one, of course, was stamped in the Limeade. So it's going to be down here, touching onto this green Limeade section, like so. Add our little butterfly. And now, of course, we have lots of options for adding journaling. There's our little butterfly hanging out there like that. We could add journaling along one of the edges of the strips. We could tuck something under our photo because we only put adhesive at top and bottom. We could add journaling in the white spaces. We could add a little tag down here, some journaling strips. We could add journaling strips along here. Lots of different choices. Let me bring in and show you the one that I made for my example this afternoon. So you'll see I have a photo here with 2 of my boys, and I also used the hearts on this one instead of the plaid. So a little bit different look, but very similar in feel. And so there we go. That is our completed layout. Now, of course, we could add some bling on there. We could add some enamel dots. We could do all sorts of things, but I'm going to leave it as is. I think it kind of looks nice just with the stamping, just with those lovely embossed or UV coated strips that add a little bit of shine as it catches in the light there. And so we've got your smile, brightens my world, warms my heart, makes me happy. I like how the colors are kind of all pointing towards the colors that they match with. And then our title kind of stands out on top of the yellow and the red in that lovely bluebird blue that we have there. And so I hope you guys enjoyed seeing that layout come together, and I hope you feel inspired to create a layout like this of your own. And if you do, be sure to take some photos of it, post it in the comments on the Facebook page when I post the photos of this layout. And the Facebook page is Life is Art with Monica Hayward, close to my heart. And have a wonderful Sunday evening. Happy Family Day tomorrow to those of you who are celebrating in Ontario and different parts of Canada that celebrate. Happy President's Day for those down in the United States. And we will see you again soon. Toodaloo. Have a great night. Bye.